Hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to Clearwater Marine Aquarium's virtual field trip series. This series is going to be all about dolphins. My name is Lindsay and I'm a marine educator here at Clearwater Marine Aquarium. Now many of you guys might know Winter, who was the dolphin in the movies Dolphin Tale and Dolphin Tale 2, which were both filmed right here at Clearwater Marine Aquarium. Today we're going to talk all about her story, the making of her prosthetic tail, and Winter herself. So as you guys might know from the movies, Winter did actually get entangled in the crab trap rope. However, she wasn't actually discovered by a little boy named Sawyer. Winter was actually rescued on December 10th, 2005 at Mosquito Lagoon in Florida by a local fisherman named Jim Savage. One day when Jim was out on the water, he noticed that one of the crab trap buoys was moving a little bit differently than all of the other ones in the water. So he went over to investigate. Once he got to that crab trap, he saw Winter come to the surface to take a deep breath of air, and that's when he saw that she was entangled in a crab trap. So if you guys take a look at this crab trap we have right here, all crab traps have a buoy, which is sometimes white, they're also different colors, and it usually rests at the surface of the water. So if the surface of the water was here, it would just be resting on it, and it's attached to a long rope. At the end of that rope is this crab trap itself, so that's usually on the seafloor. That's where the crabs go. But there's that long rope that goes through the entire water column. Now dolphins are very curious and they like to explore their natural environment. So Winter probably just got a little bit curious about that crab trap and she started swimming around it and eventually got tangled in the rope from the crab trap. Luckily, when Jim Savage saw her entangled in the crab trap rope, he knew he needed to call for help. Hub SeaWorld was actually the first rescue team on site. And when the rescue teams all arrived, they noticed that Winter had the line from the crab trap rope wrapped around her mouth, around her body, and her peduncle or tail region. It was wrapped so tightly that she was starting to lose blood flow to her tail fluke region. Now, if you guys have ever taken a rubber band and maybe wrapped it tightly around your finger, if you leave it on there for a little bit, you might notice that your finger starts to change color and it might even start to get a little bit numb. If you've ever experienced that before, that means that you've experienced blood loss to your finger. So that's not good for us. So luckily, if that ever happens, you can just pull that rubber band right off and but unfortunately, dolphins don't have hands and fingers like we do. So when Winter got entangled, she wasn't able to take that rope off. So because she lost that blood flow to her tail fluke region, the skin and other tissues around that region actually began to shed off, which is how she lost her tail. So now that we know a little bit about what happened to Winter, let's take a closer look to her rescue story.
Well, Winter's a 12-year-old Atlantic bottlenose dolphin. She's lovable, she's energetic. Of course, her story has inspired so many people each and every day. Winter's story is unique, but it doesn't go into the details of how determined she is. She survived the unsurvivable and has been here with us for almost 12 years. And oh, she's a rescued dolphin. Yeah, I hear you talking about it. I hear you. I hear you. You're crazy.
How much time do we have? Because I honestly could talk about the rescue scene for days. I think the scene on the beach with Sawyer and Winter when they first see each other is the pinnacle of what Dolphin Tale and CMA stands for. It really is everything that they strive to be, and that's rescue and to rehab. I think as kids, like 12-year-olds, we're trying to figure out what our passion is, right? And it's really frustrating if we don't know it. Everyone else is doing, sports or they're reading a ton, and Sawyer just didn't seem like he had that. He didn't have that passion. And then in that instance, when he frees Winter from the crab trap and he just interacts with her, he realizes he found his passion. Helping people, helping animals. I have met so many kids who have been inspired by Winter, knowing that Winter's helped them, and now they're inspiring other people and helping other people, which is so cool. And that's the impact that Winter has. It's like I said, a domino effect. Winter's helped somebody and inspired somebody, and now all they want to do is help other people as well.
So Abby, we're sitting here watching the inspiring real-life footage of Winter being rescued December 10, 2005. This is the first time anybody ever saw her, and this is the rescue team, our partner rescue team going out. They're going to see something amazing in a few minutes. What are they thinking right now in your mind?
Well, just watching what's happening right now, it's making my adrenaline go up because I know they're trying to get to the scene as quickly as possible. They have to get all their equipment and supplies out there, and they just need to figure out what's going on. They know there's a baby dolphin, and she's in distress.
And there it is, the first shot ever of Winter the dolphin. Jim Savage, the fisherman, found her like 5 hours before. She's been in the water for a number of hours at this point. This is not happening right now. She's already in the water for a number of hours.
We got a report of this animal at 9:30 this morning, and the injuries that she has are due to a crab pot entanglement with a rope. So it basically was dragging through the corners of her mouth and also caused her some abrasions around her body from being wrapped up in the rope.
Time is of the essence, and they need to come up with a plan as quickly as possible.
And then they see this, which is the first shot of her tail flukes being damaged by the crab trap rope. So you know the story thereafter, but when you're watching this right now, what would you have been thinking looking at that as far as the odds of her doing well?
I mean, obviously, it looked really bad, to be honest. I've never seen an injury to that extent, and I would know that it would be a very long recovery if it was even possible at all.
But it is Winter the dolphin.
Yes.
And she knows how to get things done and never gives up.
Yeah, and she's an amazing animal. And just seeing her right now, just how small she is and how fragile she is, the fact that she's come so far just is an amazing feeling, because you're talking about a really young animal and the chances for an animal like that to survive. But on top of that, she's got some serious problems.
So as you watch Winter right now, you know her better than anybody. How does this make you feel just as Abby Stone?
Well, obviously it pulls at my heartstrings, but I feel really good overall just knowing how far she's come and getting an opportunity just to see her in that state, knowing that today she's thriving and doing so well. I mean, when I look at her, she still has those really sweet eyes. And I know that she's not good right now, but in a very short period of time, she's going to be here at CMA, and we're going to be getting her on the road to recovery.
So it's amazing just to watch her. Winter's a fighter. We know her fighting personality, but she was doing it from day one. You didn't have to teach her that. That's kind of what she's about, and she's doing that right now.
And you see it when they put her in the stretcher, the way she moves and kind of struggles a little bit, and you do want to see that. And we saw that when we saw that when we got her in the pool, even here at CMA.
That was the Winter attitude, right? Like, I'm still in charge.
Yeah, that's right. I got this.
Yeah. She refuses to give up, so they'll put her in a stretcher, which is as high-tech as we get in transporting the animals, but it's how we do it.
Yeah, it works effectively.
Safest way, and then here it is right here. So it's amazing to watch this right now and realizing she's going to leave the world of animals and be forever in the hands of humans that will now care for her. And of course, you've been doing that for many, many years. Her last time ever in the wild right now, and she'll be in our hands very, very soon. About a 4-hour drive to Clearwater Marine Aquarium, and you were there that night.
Yep, I mean, those transports aren't easy either for those animals. 4 hours is kind of a long period of time, but she did really well.
The odds are she wouldn't live, at this point in time, the odds are she would not even survive. Right? But it's Winter, right?
It is.
It's Winter the dolphin, so inspiring dolphin. So there you go, first day, the rescue of Winter the dolphin. Heading to Clearwater Marine Aquarium and into the hands of Abby Stone in a couple hours. There you go.
It makes me feel amazed that we were able to accomplish something so significant that would impact so many people's lives. And
Against
to think
all odds.
Yeah, and it just started this one day. I mean, so many things had to happen for us to be where we are today that it just amazes me that everything has turned out so well.
Now that we've learned a little bit about Winter's rescue story, let's learn what happened once she came to CMA. When Winter was transported to CMA, we weren't sure if she was going to be able to make it through the night. She was only about 2 to 3 months old. She was now without her mother and without her tail. Luckily though, Winter's a fighter and she did survive. In fact, she's the only dolphin in the entire world that lost her entire tail flukes and still survived today, which is great. Winter is a true inspiration for us all. So now that she was here and without a tail, she had to teach herself to swim all over again. Dolphins are mammals just like humans, so they have to come breathe air just like we do. So Winter had to find a new way to swim so that she could come up to the surface and still be able to breathe. And that's exactly what she did. Winter taught herself a new way to swim. She began to swim side to side like a shark. So I'm going to show you guys how she did. So Winter started to use her peduncle, or that tail region, to swim side to side like this. Now most dolphins, when they swim, they move their peduncle up and down like this to swim. So as Winter was doing that and swimming side to side, she was using the lateral muscles, or the muscles on the sides of her peduncle, to swim. Most dolphins use the dorsal and ventral muscles, or the muscles on the top and bottom of the peduncle, when they swim. So it was great that Winter taught herself a new way to swim. However, the side-to-side swimming did have some consequences. Over time, as she began that side-to-side swimming, she had a curvature in her spine that started to curve downward, which is called scoliosis. Humans can have this condition too. Scoliosis occurred because Winter was using muscles to swim that most dolphins don't usually use. So now CMA had to find a new way to slow the curvature of that spine, because if we couldn't slow it, then that continued side-to-side motion could make the condition worse. So what were we going to do? Well, luckily, this is when Kevin Carroll from Hanger Clinic Incorporated stepped in, and he reached out to CMA to help. Hanger Clinic makes prosthetics for humans, and they wanted to try to make a prosthetic for dolphins too to help Winter. And that's exactly what they did. As you can see this tail here, this isn't Winter's first tail, and it's not even the one she currently wears. All of her tails are very different, and they've had to change with her as Winter continues to grow here at CMA. So while all of her tails do have some differences, they have some things in common as well. So let's show you guys the different parts of her tail that all of the tails have in common that she wears. The first thing that they all have in common is this harness. So that's at the very front of the tail. You can see it velcros here. And this is just what attaches it to Winter's body and keeps it in place. The second part that they all have in common is the cup. So that's this area right here, and it's molded perfectly to fit Winter's tail stump, and it helps keep the tail in place as well. Another thing they all have in common is this flexible joint right here. So that's what allows the tail to move up and down throughout the water column as Winter wears it. So we're going to talk more about that later, but she can use that to swim up and down. And then finally, the last thing they all have in common is the tail fluke. That is the part that Winter was missing, so now the prosthetic tail gives her a tail fluke of her very own. So while Hanger Clinic was making this tail, it took a long time for this to be made. So in the meantime, Winter's animal care staff were helping her get prepared to wear the tail by doing some resistance training. So it's kind of like if you ever went to the gym for the first time and you've never been there before, you probably couldn't take the heaviest weight and lift it all the way above your head, right? You'd probably have to start with the smaller ones and work your way up. So that's what our animal care staff did with Winter to help her get used to wearing her prosthetic tail when it did arrive. So she also had to learn how to move her tail up and down to try to swim in that up and down pattern. So meanwhile, the staff at Hanger were working on her very first tail, and it did come with some obstacles. The biggest of which was probably how were they going to have this tail stay on Winter and not hurt her skin. Dolphins have very sensitive skin, and Winter, like other bottlenose dolphins, sheds her skin about every 2 to 3 hours. What this means is if they were to have a prosthetic tail on her that she wore for too long, it could actually hurt her skin and it could be uncomfortable. If it were uncomfortable, she wouldn't want to wear it, and we want to make sure that she wanted to wear it because it was physical therapy for her and would help curb the curving of her spine by slowing it with that up and down motion, teaching her how to swim up and down. So the idea that they came up with was Winter's gel, and that's what we use today. We use it on Winter, and we also use it for human prosthetics too. So let's go take a look at Winter and see about how she wears this prosthetic tail and some more about the making of it.
Hi everybody, we're here with Winter's brand new tail. In fact, we're going to try it on for the very first time right now. Winter is the only dolphin in the world missing entire tail flukes. That means she's the only dolphin that has a full prosthetic. So all of this technology we had to make from scratch, all designed by Hanger Clinic and our research team here at Clearwater Marine Aquarium. Now Winter's tail is made up of many different parts. Now not car parts like in the movie.
This is something I cooked up from parts from an old Buick. It's a little stiff, but it should work until the real parts are made.
These parts are constantly improving. Now she's had multiple tails in her life. As technology improves, we keep improving the tails, but Winter's also grown quite a bit over the years. So the tails are always created to fit her perfectly. Winter gets various types of physical therapy every single day. Now wearing her tail is just one of the forms of physical therapy that does include physical exercise. So wearing this tail is not something that she needs to do all the time. A really important part of Winter's tail is wearing Winter's gel. Now this is the material that actually touches her skin only. So you can see it's really flexible. It's also nice and soft, so it's comfortable whenever she wears a tail. This material is so comfortable that Hanger Clinic now uses this material in human prosthetics to allow amputees to have comfortable prosthetics just like Winter. Well, without Winter's tail, she did have to adapt to life by swimming side to side. But when the tail came a part of her life, she had to learn to swim all over again in that up and down motion.
Well, that was so exciting getting to see the designing and the use of Winter's prosthetic tail. So you guys probably saw this with Julia, but I also have an example of Winter's gel right here. So this is made out of a material called thermoplastic elastomer. And one thing about this, as you can see, and you can see now, is it's super stretchy. So it has this elastic material in it to keep it nice and flexible for when Winter moves around. It also kind of suctions very nicely, creating a tight seal along Winter's tail stub, and it keeps it right in place. This tail is also the Winter's gel is also very soft, and it's a little bit tacky, so that helps it from not sliding off Winter's wet skin. Now, the very first time we ever put the tail on, if you guys saw the movie in Dolphin Tail, Winter got really nervous and the tail made her really nervous, but that didn't actually happen in real life. So in real life, what we use is a process called desensitization. This means that we took tiny little baby steps to get Winter comfortable with her tail and gel. So they may have started off by just showing her the tail and the gel, and then eventually she got more comfortable with it. So then they might have her touch her rostrum or the beak of her nose to the tail and the gel, and maybe some different body parts so she could get even more comfortable with it. And then over time, they would slowly start to put Winter's tail and gel on her to make sure she was comfortable. So the very first time she wore it, it wasn't all at once. We always want to make sure our animals are comfortable with things. So that's why we do this desensitization process. So now Winter wears her tail a few times a week. So if you guys have actually been to the aquarium, or if you've seen Winter maybe on our webcams, you may notice that she's not always wearing that prosthetic tail. Don't forget that Winter can still swim just fine on her own. She just swims in that side-to-side motion. The tail is just kind of like physical therapy. So if you guys think about it, if you were running around all day or at the gym or working out or on the playground, if you were running around all day long or working out all day long, you would get kind of exhausted. And that's the same thing for Winter. So wearing her tail is just kind of like physical therapy for her. So she can swim just fine without it, and it's perfectly fine if you see her swimming around without it. So now that you guys have learned a little bit about Winter and her story, as well as the making of her prosthetic tail, you guys can check out the link below to make your own prosthetic tail at home using upcycled materials you can find at home. So make sure to check out the activity link below, and thank you guys so much for joining us here at Clearwater Marine Aquarium on our virtual field trip. Thanks everyone.